So, how do you survive an expedition to the Arctic? The Arctic is a place of endless barrenness, bone-chilling cold, and inevitable death for almost all life. Well, actually not. That's not even remotely true. In fact, the best way to survive a trip to the Arctic is to ask one of the 4 million Inuit, Yupik, Inupiat, and Sami people who already live there. Like, they actually live there right now and have done so for millennia. So surviving an Arctic exploration shouldn't be that difficult, right? Well, the many who died trying might disagree. So, why are you going there anyways? No, really, just why? That should be the biggest question on your mind. There's probably a reason, and you'll need it when you face the bitter realities of life and probably death in the Arctic. Knowing why you're going keeps you going. People have been traveling to the Arctic on expeditions for hundreds of years, with pioneering Vikings making it to Greenland over 1,000 years ago. Then, through the 1500s and onwards, everyone was invested in finding something that they weren't even 100% sure existed, the Northwest Passage. The Northwest Passage was the theoretically safer route from Europe to the Far East, allowing ships to avoid Spanish and Ottoman territory. Then, in 1850, the McClure Arctic Expedition found it. It was a happy time, apart from the fact they found the missing Franklin expedition, which nobody had heard from since 1845. So, in the late 1850s, it was confirmed that they had all died. Sad, but that's what happened to Arctic explorers. Since today we know where the Northwest Passage is, it's probably not why you're going. The Ross expedition found the North Pole in the early 1830s, there's no need for that either. The Russians even planted a flag deep down on the seabed in 2007, marking the real rock, the Earth, where the North Pole sits. So you don't even have to worry about that. So why are you going? You're most likely heading to the Arctic for the same reason people climb Everest, because you want to challenge yourself and prove to the world that you can do it. Just don't end up like any of these guys. Sorry to put a damper on things. Also, and this is probably well worth mentioning, make sure you know where you're going. The Arctic, not the Antarctic. That's on the south side of the planet, home to penguins and even colder temperatures. You want the north, where the polar bears and sea unicorns live. Going to the wrong end of the planet would be a bit awkward, really, especially if you didn't make it back. With your objectives sorted, it's time to raise some capital fund your trip. Of course, the best approach here is to overstate your experience, inflate your skills beyond your realistic capabilities, and, most importantly, vastly exaggerate the likelihood of success. Take all this to a wealthy family or government with nothing better to do, and you'll be well on your way. But even better, persuade them that your foolhardy adventure will actually bring some sort of benefit. For example, go off searching for another alternative route for the Northwest Passage, doing your best to avoid joining the hundreds who have perished looking for it, or take your scientific equipment to the Arctic with you and perform some generic experiments on something or another. With your money pocketed, fraudulently or otherwise, it's time to think about who to bring with you. Your fellow crew members will really make the difference when it comes to surviving, or, well, not. You'll need to pick people with dedicated skills that complement each other. There's no point in asking your friends to come for a laugh. Without proper planning, you're even less likely to return. For an example, you might go at the right time of year to avoid being trapped in ice and die being stranded in a frozen desert. That happened more commonly than you believe. The most crucial crewmates will be experts in navigation by sun, star, and compass, and indigenous guides with their understanding of the landscape, hunting techniques, and a brilliantly adapted survival approach. Without these to guide you, you're more likely to die in the Arctic than not. For example, magnetic compasses don't really work once you reach the Arctic Circle. Knowing where you're going, where you are, and how to get back are 3 vital components in an Arctic exploration. And if any of them go wrong, you're dead. Aside from these core skills, you need crew members with expertise in other fields. You'll want to cook, or 2, or 3, depending on the size of your expedition, and in the case that some of them might die. You'll need engineers, carpenters, and people who know their way around efficient construction and repair work when you inevitably get stuck in ice for an entire winter. You'll need experienced adventurers who understand the treacherous nature of sea ice and bring with them that never say die spirit until they die. Then, depending on your method of transportation and intended destination, you'll almost certainly need a weathered ship crew and captain, and or a dedicated dog handler and those trusty dogs to keep you warm and safe and to pull you and your sleds across the endless icy wilderness. Pulling these people and animals together gives you the best chance of surviving an Arctic expedition. But don't get too comfortable. Doesn't guarantee you'll live by any means. So, you've assembled your dream team, or perhaps a hodgepodge group with nothing better to do. Either way, it's now time for the tools and equipment. People have successfully flown to the North Pole. There was even once an attempt to reach it in a hot air balloon, but when all 3 talented men died, everyone decided, bad idea, let's stick to land travel on ships. You'll need to bring quite a few things with you to survive. Stowed away in the hold of your extra fortified to protect against ice ship, or extra light to give the dogs less to do sled, you should include the following items. Warm clothes, ropes, tents, non-perishable foods like hardtack or jerky, maps, compasses, and sextants, sleds for overland expeditions, reindeer hide sleeping bags, fire starting kit, fuel for fires, torches and lanterns, hunting weapons, general hardware and tools, hammer, saw, nails, sharp, multi-purpose knife. Of course, hot baths and showers won't be possible. Oh, no, my mistake. You find hot springs all over the Arctic, including in Iceland and Greenland's uninhabited Unaratak Island. Who knew? Getting enough to drink shouldn't be a problem. It's easy to boil down snow and ice. Your biggest issue will be keeping everyone's spirits high to help them stay friends and dissuade them from committing mutiny, killing you, leaving your body buried in the endless expanse of frosty desert, lying to your family, and taking everything from your bank account. Ah, yes. On that note, it's best to take some kind of personal pistol or knife with you. However, keeping everyone's spirits high requires a few items that aren't technically essential to survival. Of course, these would depend on the era you're from, but they might include playing cards, a record player, books, sports equipment, or this YouTube video that you should definitely like. These also help prevent you and anyone else from getting so bored that they might leave camp and die. At some point, you might find entertainment even more imperative to your survival than food. With all this, you're ready to commence on your Arctic expedition, and your chances of survival are probably as high as you can reasonably hope for. But remember, there's always a chance you'll die, thanks to the merciless temperatures or your grumpy friend getting fed up, and the more you wander into treacherous unknown territory, the greater that probability becomes. These days, Arctic expeditions employ the most reliable scientists, adventurers, and natives to traverse the landscape. Extra reinforced boats, drones, trucks, wildlife cages, and snowmobiles help explorers travel further in more comfort, and most importantly, increase the likelihood they'll survive. Even Jeremy Clarkson and James May, in their own words, two middle-aged men, deeply unfit and mostly drunk, made it to the North Pole in the pickup. But that doesn't mean for a moment that surviving an Arctic expedition is easy. If there's any lesson to be learned here, it's the safest way to explore the Arctic is to live in the 21st century and learn about the people who did it so you don't have to, and the many others who died trying. Anyways, bye.